Everyone, I would like to introduce the Mansion Players, our local theater group. They did a 2 o'clock performance. They've been performing in between sets, and they're great people. They're fabulous people. 21 of them showed up. There's an army of Mansion Players, and we don't have all 21 here right now, but I want to introduce Marie Benoit. She's the perpetrator of the Mansion Players.
Oh, good, thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm Marie Benoit, as she said. We're going to do train days for you. It's one of our scheduled pieces that we do every year. We're not going to do the whole thing, of course, because you'll all fall asleep from the heat. But I think you'll enjoy it, and I'll have them start now.
Oh boy, it sure feels good to be back in old Belen. You know, I'm a train man, and Belen is a train town. It wasn't always a train town, of course. Before the trains came to Belen, Belen was a quiet little town, but a very important one. The first settlers came to this area around the 1700s. A group of families out of Albuquerque petitioned the Spanish governor for a land grant. Some of the signers of that petition were from the Salazar, Torres, Romero, Vigil, Trujillo, and Sandoval families. So if you are from one of these families, your ancestors were probably some of the first settlers to live in this valley. You know, for 100 years after this, supplies were brought to Belen along the Camino Real, which runs to and from Chihuahua, Mexico. This was a very long, expensive, and dangerous journey. But if you were to make it, you stood to become a millionaire. Thank you.
Well, speaking of millionaires, one of the wealthiest of these traders was a man named Felipe Chavez. He was so wealthy that his nickname was El Millonario. Don Felipe had the nicest house in town, and he became involved in sheep raising, farming, mining, and real estate, and he supplied soldiers from the U.S. Army. Don Felipe's house was right behind his store on Main Street. The store is gone today. The new Walgreens is now in its place, but Don Felipe's house is still there. It may not look like what we would think of as the house of a millionaire today, but it was a very large house for Belen at the time. And he gave parties and dances there. In fact, here's an invitation to a dance there. It was quite an honor to get one of these.
But the most important thing that El Millonario did for Belen is he helped bring the railroad to Belen. That was probably the most important game-changing thing that ever happened to Belen. And this is how it happened. It started out with a problem. In the 1880s, the Santa Fe route ran from Chicago to Southern California, but there was a huge problem at Raton Pass and Glorieta Pass. The mountains here are so steep that trains can't get through them without what they call helper engines or pushers. Those are extra locomotives that stay parked on a sideline at the bottom of steep hills. When a train needs to go up the mountain, it stops at the bottom, and those locomotives pull out and attach themselves to the back of the train and help push it up the hill. When the train is made over the hill, the helpers either let it go and row backward down the mountain to wait for the next train, or they go on over the other side with it and then detach to wait for the next train coming from the other direction.
Now, as he said, the biggest problem with this system was it costed extra money and took extra time. So the Santa Fe Railroad decided to do something about it. What they needed was a cutoff, which was a detour around the mountains instead of over them. So what they decided to do was to come down through Amarillo and then go on to Arizona. But the question was, should they go through Belen? Why not somewhere else? But this is where our good old friend Felipe Chavez comes in. He had strong political influence, and he guided the board of directors to make their decision to put the Santa Fe Railroad here through Belen. He also teamed up with another rich and influential man from Belen, a man named John Becker, to make sure the railroad was brought through here. And that's exactly what happened. That new line that they called the Belen Cutoff was finished in 1908, and immediately following the finishing of the Belen Cutoff, Belen became one of the busiest rail centers in the entire country. That's why Belen's nickname is the Hub City. It's a huge railroad hub. And even today, more than 100 trains a day still come through.
Well, if you lived in Belen in those days, you knew where to go to eat. But people who were coming through on the train didn't, and they only had a half an hour change from trains. So, thank you, sir. So if you came to Belen then and looked at a very empty Main Street, you wouldn't know where to go. A man named Fred Harvey saw this problem early on, and he developed a chain of what he called Harvey Houses, restaurants all along the train route. And the girls that he used to staff these Harvey Houses were called Harvey Girls. I'll bring a few of them out for you.
Belen, Belen, where everyone fits in. You might come here a stranger, but you'll go away a friend. And everyone who visits here is sure to come again, 'cause everyone is someone in Belen. I'm Betty and I thought I was in love in my hometown. And then he married my best friend and I couldn't stick around. With a little time and distance, my broken heart can mend. That's how I ended up in old Belen.
My name is Emily, but you can call me Em. I was back east husband hunting, but the pickings there were slim. And so I came out west where there's a good supply.
Grab her.
That's how I ended up in old Belen.
I'm Sal and I'm a widow from the town of Albuquerque. My husband left no money, so I had to go to work. And that is how I ended up as these girls' mother hen, as matron of the Harvey House in old Belen.
My name is Isabel and I live in Belen. I'd like to be a Harvey girl, but I am only 10. But I'm growing every day, a few more years, and then I'll be a Harvey girl in old Belen.
I'm Charlie, I'm the cook, and I come from old St. Louis, when I ran a little dice game that the cops objected to. So I left town rather quickly, and I can't go back again. That's how I ended up in old Belen.
Belen, Belen, where everyone fits in. You might come here a stranger, but you'll go away a friend. And everyone who visits here is sure to come again, 'cause everyone is someone in Belen.
The Harvey House closed in 1939. It was still owned by the Santa Fe Railroad, and they kept it as a place where their railroad workers could wait between trains. It finally closed its doors completely in 1980. The town of Belen acquired the Harvey House, and luckily they didn't tear it down. It opened 3 years later as the Valencia County Historical Society Museum. And it's right down there, and anytime you want to go, it's free, and it's a great museum. They do accept donations.
Now, if you like this, we've already done our Rustlers of Red Rock show, so you can't see it today. But if you come to the United Methodist Church on Manzano Freeway next Friday at 6:30, we'll do a performance of Rustlers of Red Rock. And that's where the sweet young girl is going to lose her ranch and her mother to this horrible vixen and this horrible Black Bart villain. And and you get to boo and hiss, and that's what we like to do. Come and see it. And thank you.